AskReddit by Bui21. Which job is a lot less fun than most people expect? Preschool teacher. Especially with new COVID-19 regulations. Ever try social distancing 3-year-olds? Oh my gosh, build a bear. Weirdest and most frustrating thing. Granted, I didn't make it a super long time in the job and seeing kids so happy is great. But they are really strict and the bad times get pretty bad. I imagine that store is just parents with sticker shock trying to talk their kids into cheaper options. You go in to do the little $35 bear, and walk out $150 later with a bear in a full tuxedo with a skateboard and a construction helmet. I'm a forensic scientist and it's literally the only thing people ask me about on dating apps. It's very technical work and it's extremely routine. I'm an archaeologist and I imagine we have very similar conversations. Usually when I meet people I avoid the topic at this point because the pressure is on me to drive the energy of the conversation with the exciting 3% of what I do while avoiding too many technical terms. It's kind of deflating to see how quickly people go from 100 to 0 interest because of my explanation. Barnes & Noble. Your job has literally nothing to do with books and AMP. It obviously attracts a lot of that type, myself included. My younger sister worked in the cafe for a long time. She said it was really frustrating, especially since they sold Starbucks coffee but weren't an actual Starbucks store, so people would complain about not taking their gift loyalty cards or minor variations in the drink or pastry menu. That and making espresso drinks for people's 5-year-olds just felt really slimy. Park ranger. Don't get me wrong, I loved it, but a lot of days it was less talk about cool animals while wearing your ranger hat and more the toilets are overflowing again. Go clean the septic tank filter and stir the tank with a shovel. With a little bit of hey, there's a methed out guy down by the bridge. Can you convince him to leave without killing anyone? All for the low price of $26 a year with a college degree. Edit so more people will see this. I hate the idea that this comment might dissuade anybody from becoming a park ranger. These jobs are so varied, and I just happen to work for an underfunded agency with too few staff. Honestly, I still love this job and would have kept doing it forever if a higher paying outdoor environmental job hadn't pretty much fallen into my lap. Being a park ranger taught me so much, and most importantly, I got trained as a wildland firefighter, which is still my favorite part of my job. If you've always dreamed of being a park ranger, please go for it. This makes me kinda sad. One of those jobs I've always wanted and was thinking of pursuing when I leave the military. Working in a flower shop. It's just like any other retail job, but people constantly tell you how fun your job must be. Also, helping grieving families choose funeral flowers is not fun. For sure. Dealing with brides. Dealing with their mothers, funerals, sitting in traffic making deliveries, waking up super early to get to the flower market, and so much bleach. I'm a marine biologist. I spent the last week measuring defrosted fish heads. The sea was angry that day. Not a specific job but traveling for work. I'm in tech and a lot of people starting out talk about wanting to go to customer sites and get out in the field. I love to travel for fun, but it's hard to fit in the fun stuff when you have presentations and stuff to worry about, and a lot of times your customers aren't in the fun cities anyway. I also think I prefer the stability and day-to-day schedule of traveling less frequently. I traveled 85+% for my job for years. Had a colleague who bitched and whined that he was so jealous, until he hit the road and quit after less than a year. Yes, I got to go to some amazing places, but more often than not I was in a crappy hotel in a crappy location. Even in great places, your colleagues or customers go home to their families, and as much as I love exploring alone it does get lonely. Yes, my tiara hurts my head, wah. I finally stopped when I got assigned a new and fairly attractive destination and all I could think was, oh ugh, how long is that flight and can someone else do it? I sure miss my exec platinum airline status though. TV film production. I think most people dream of being the actor, the director, the people making the creative decisions, or the big shot producer calling the shots, but most of the people working in TV and film production are part of a machine, the grind, working in a system, trying to climb up to wherever they want to be. Many don't get to actualize their creative vision. Also, the industry can be project-based, job security concerns, and location limited, and voila, maybe other cities. Pay can be low starting out too, though it can be good if you work way up. But I did enjoy the type of people that work these jobs, a little more fun than the business folk I work with now. Edit. Just want to note I have a lot of respect for the TV film industry. I would go back to it, but I would be careful about what the job and career path was. A pediatric nurse. Being a nurse for children and adolescents. Everyone in nursing school talks about how much they want to work with kids. The reality is that a pediatric nurse sees more cases of abuse and neglect than any other specialty. Doesn't matter where you are in a pediatric hospital, it's the thing you see most. I've seen so many DCS, Department of Child Services, caseworkers that I've gotten to know some of them and became acquaintances with them. Sure, working with children and adolescents is great, but people don't think about the most essential piece of that puzzle, which is their families. It doesn't matter how good of care you give to those kids. If you don't loop the parents into that care, you may as well just not be doing anything for them. I feel you. I work in pediatrics. I'm one step away from oncology. So I know more about cancer than I'd ever like to know. It can be soul crushing at times. Video editor. The more I do it, the more I can't be asked. What I hate so much is that when you send a draft or edit to the client boss, they mostly seem so ungrateful. Or yeah, just make this easy change and we'll be good to go. No asshole, that's not an easy change. I do video editing on top of graphic design, and people just seem so unappreciative of how much time and effort goes into a quick little video. Although not necessarily bad. Beekeeping. Get used to the constant sound of buzzing during hive inspection, swarm removals, plus wearing the protective suit in hot ass weather for hours on end, give or take the situation. Also, there appears to be a large number of beekeepers allergic to bees, so EpiPens are a must. Why on earth would someone who's allergic to bee stings go into beekeeping? That seems a not very intelligent decision. I always say the more fun it is to go somewhere, the worse it is to work there, like amusement parks and arcades. Honestly, every job that lots and lots of people really want to do sucks, mostly due to supply and demand. You're gonna be treated like shit, and if you complain you're gonna be fired because you're inherently replaceable, because there's thousands of people that would love to do your job for even less money than you are making. Baker. Coming into work at 3/4 am so you can have a 6 am baked goods is miserable. 00000HY0 you must tell 0 vetty way you smell WHNG 0H0 me. Nope, I go home smelling like burnt oven. Demolition. Everyone wants to break shit with a sledgehammer. Everyone is tired of lifting that sledgehammer by 5 swings. Nobody wants to load the broken stuff into bags or a wheelbarrow and take it to the dumpster. I did a 2-week demo job years ago where I had to jackhammer, 75 pounds at least, a concrete slab and grind rebar in 2 pieces. I'm in good shape and that job fucked me up. Video game testing. I've been working in the game industry for 6 years now, and teaching for 2. Testing video games is thought to be just you just play games all day? Lol, but it's actually very specific and arduous. First of all, there are a bunch of testing methodologies such as load soak testing, white room testing, version testing to name a few, but the most common one is functionality testing. Functionality testing is so if I walk into that corner with the shotgun in my inventory, I can clip through the wall. But if I have my M16 in my inventory, I don't clip through. How do you go about finding out something like your example where if you walk through a wall with a certain item you clip? Is it just insane copious trial and error? It seems like such an insanely tough job, and then since you're only one guy, within a week someone finds some game breaking glitch fairly early on. It just seems like a tough cycle. Paleontologist. You don't get to work with full dinosaur skeletons and do all kinds of awesome expeditions. You're mostly sitting at a desk looking at some pictures and logging stuff on your computer, maybe examining a fossil occasionally. If you're lucky you can go on a real dig, and OMG spend hours in the hot sun dusting off rocks. That actually sounds pretty fun. It basically sounds like school with some extra steps. Acting. All the ones we see on TV and movies are the 0.0001% of incredibly lucky and talented people who manage to thrive in a hostile and overcrowded industry. And even when you are working, the actual job itself is 99% sitting on apple crate in hot makeup waiting for some grips to move a lighting fixture. Then you say 3 lines over and over again for an hour, and then you rap. That was my experience as an extra. I waited all day for something to do and was given a role as a doorman but neglected to tell me anything else. Luckily I thought to open the door and it made it on screen, but that was it. Flight attendant 1. You are on call, on reserve, forever, have a terrible schedule, have no life, and make no money for 5-10 years too. While you work for peanuts, you can't afford to use your flight benefits in any substantial way. 3. Then, when you finally get a chance to use your benefits for a trip, you have to fly standby, which means you aren't guaranteed to get on the flight you want for. Then, if you do make it out of town you better have like a week off so you can make damn sure you're back in your base city in time for your next work shift. 5. Did I mention there is an activist legislation, Railway Labor Act, that allows airlines to exploit so you don't get paid for certain work hours that you actually need to be working? For example, FARs don't get paid for boarding, or any time the plane is at the gate. Worst job ever. Edit, typos and clarity. Any idea why the job is so competitive? Accountant. Everyone thinks it's all fun and number crunching. But the constant stream of women throwing their panties and wanting to bear your children is honestly exhausting. My mother's an accountant. From what I can tell, it's a lot of staring at large numbers and making sure they're all correct and going through vast amounts of spreadsheets. Then discovering you made a mistake somewhere on the spreadsheet that was for January, so now you have to redo January, February, March, April and May. Meanwhile, your deadline for June is in 3 hours. Working in a music store, musical instruments. Your days are spent listening to 50 different people play 50 different riffs poorly simultaneously, as if they are all putting on their own concert. A whole lot of Iron Man and Stairway. Being a writer. I always thought it was my absolute dream job. But the only job I could get after college was working in a content mill as a blog writer. I used to work 70-hour weeks staring at the computer in a basement of an old bank writing bullshit articles about the dangers of mold, fence cleaning, and why you need a commercial awning, and the dream turned into a nightmare. While I still write occasionally, I am now working as a communications person, so it is a bit less heavy. Deleted. Trimming weed. IDKY. People think working with weed is like working in the Willy Wonka factory. It's not. You literally get to make tiny cuts with sticky scissors for 8 hours. Yay, was gonna say cannabis dispensary. Everybody coming in, you have the greatest job, it's just retail. I have seen this question before and then it was the keeper at the top comment too. Nice. Anyways, there's this making of Frozen 2 mini doku. Most animators work weeks for a minute of animation of one character, if not less. At one point they decided to leave out a piece that one person had solely been working on. Must be crappy to be part of the credits without being able to say this is my part. I couldn't believe it. It was even crazier to me when Sterling K. Brown recorded an entire song and it got scrapped. It's insane how much ends up on the cutting room floor for a movie to be just right. I was so psyched for the animator that did that end scene for Into the Unknown though. She killed it. Working at a Charles Dickens fair is interesting, but not incredibly fun. It is hard to stay in character, and people get so mad when they see the Alice in Wonderland area. Yeah, we know it's not Charles Dickens, but we can't have a kids play area in the world of Oliver Twist, okay? Lol, the kids play area is a coal factory. Deleted. I went on a glacier hike when I was in Iceland and the guide seemed genuinely shocked and thrilled that my girlfriend and I were the only 2 people on his tour that day, and we had actually spent more than 5 minutes outdoors and were appropriately dressed. He said usually he had fairly large groups of tourists who typically had practically no outdoor experience and even less experience with cold weather. He said people often showed up in flip-flops even though the instructions clearly said to wear sturdy hiking shoes. He also said the groups typically move extremely slowly and he never gets to take people up onto the part with the best views and cleanest looking ice. He actually seemed really relieved we wanted to go further up and were making great time, like it was a treat for him. He was very knowledgeable and seemed so excited to talk about the stuff he knew, and I got the impressio. Seeing all this makes me feel like I don't want to have a job, but instead live off fish, as in catching and eating. It's my favorite thing to do, not the job of a fisherman. I hear that'll make your poop very oily and stinky. Deleted. I went to George Washington's boyhood home near Fredericksburg, VA, where they were sifting through dirt. I was a tourist by myself, and watched them dig from a distance. Nothing amazing. What did amaze me though was the amount of people that asked what I digging for. I ended up asking the intern how many people ask that, and she said too many to count, sir. I felt so bad. I'll take things that involve customers for $800, Alex. Deleted. Even in major cities you get 10 this homeless dude is drunk and needs a ride to the hospital, or my pinky has been hurting for 8 weeks calls for every legit trauma. Being a chef. All the flair and awesomeness they show on Vice and Netflix is far from what actually happens in the industry. It's not all fancy plates and tattooed cool haired guys doing their thing. It's a drug infested, or breaking work environment that only benefits the owners of a restaurant. Edit. Thank you for the love and good reads, people. I have some insane stories I'll share someday. For those asking, I am a sous chef at Michelin level restaurant nowadays. Not a chef de cuisine yet. Edit 2. You guys are insane. I once had a server approach my table and asked where I work because he noticed the scars on my arms wrong. Deleted. Honest most real answer, any job every job. Until you've done it, you only have an idealized version of it in your head. Very true. That being said, it's still nicer to work in something you're at least interested in. I have a love-hate relationship with my job. Some days I really beat myself up for choosing this, but most days I'm just glad I get to do something I'm passionate about, even if it's a pain. Librarian. It's not all books and being quiet. There are also spreadsheets. I'm a librarian too. I wouldn't say it's not fun, but it's definitely not what people think it is. If we sat around reading books all day, no books would be checked in or checked out, no books would be shelved, no information would be answered, no computer help, no programming would take place, etc. I love my job and am inspired by it, but it's a lot more work than people think. Cybersecurity. Bro, the movies do us no justice. Hacking is not as fast nor is it as easy as the media makes it. It's a great field, but you spend a lot of time researching or watching paint dry, especially in the gov side. Edit. I'll never be able to answer all of your questions. I'll answer some PMS as I get a chance. Edit 2. No more questions about the field. Getting spammed. Oh man. After 20 years I've worked my way to the top of the non-management staff. Think you will be building all the cool new shit, designing new systems? Hell no. Meetings, documentation, answering every question the lower tiers couldn't sort out, trying to wrangle management for $$ just to keep the old shit alive, hauling VIP's grand ideas they got from a Sky Mall article back down to reality. That's my days now. Oh, and everything I did before I got promoted because they are not going to hire that position right now. I write adult fanfiction as a side hustle. After a certain point it's just like writing a paper, except you have to keep thinking of different synonyms for a penis. I'm missing the part where this isn't fun. Toys R Us. Not around anymore, but I'm sure this applies to other toy stores, though few that there are. It is still retail, and in this case it involves people's kids, so of course the parents are twice as entitled to have to deal with. Edit. Thank you, you Lord Tachankyonyt. https://www.reddit.com/u/Lord Tachankyonyt close bracket for your energy tithing. I look forward to growing as gelatinous and as all-encompassing as Akira from the attention. Edit. I rescind my earlier assumption that Toys R Us was closed. That is what I get for listening to rumors. It was shut down where I was from originally. I now see that it still exists in most of the US, Canada, and certain parts of Asia. Merry Christmas, Black Friday to you all. Worked there for holiday seasons and I loved the small store in the mall but hated the big box stores. It was 99.9% the parents who were the worst customers. Child-free adults, kids and teenagers were cool. Zookeeper. Don't get me wrong, it's awesome to be around so many amazing animals and care for them. But the smells are ridiculously, insanely foul. I have a really strong stomach and it's still tough for me. We've had some interns quit over it. I was warned about the smells when getting into the field, but thought, oh, I volunteered at animal shelters, I know what animal stink smells like. Nope. Not even close. Which smell the worst? Are there any that don't? Deleted. Another negative in dog grooming is that you see a lot of neglected dogs and you can't really do anything about it because the owner is bringing them in for grooming and that's considered them taking care of them. I've seen dogs that come in with mats that are like full body casts that create bruising on the skin, nails that are so ingrown that they have curled and grown in the paw pads, dogs with fesses that stuck to their rear for who knows how long and skin is raw underneath and they have problems using the bathroom, severe ear infections when fluid is dripping from the ears, flea and tick infestations to the point of anemia, teeth falling out from dental care being neglected. The list goes on. And that's what I've seen in corporate grooming, so I have no idea the stuff private groomers and vet groomers see. Video game tester. You aren't spending your time playing completed fully realized games. You are playing the same level of a game over and over, seeing if there are bugs. Also, you are probably not going to test the next GTA, but something like Barbie's Super Happy Fun Land 3, or some other game aimed for kids 8 and under. And you'll have to play it for 8-10 hours a day, every day. Managing a dog hotel. Breaking up dog fights, dogs shitting in the lobby and the occasional lawful owners. Edit. Thanks for all the upvotes. Sad, my most popular comment is about my job, lol. As someone who worked as a kennel tech, I'd hear often you get to play with dogs all day. No. Very far from it. I've had to shovel bloody diarrhea from a dog with liver cirrhosis 7+ a day. I had to walk dogs consistently and then do 10-minute playtimes non-stop. I only got a 30-minute lunch and no break for the 8 hours I worked. Most people who own these business, in my experience, are stingy and don't care about tech's well-being most of the time. It's not a fun job. After reading through this thread for 20 minutes, I've concluded that every job sucks. I think doing anything for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week would probably get tiresome. Pilot. You could lose your career with a single illness or injury, which could be happening to me soon. Not sure of the exact details, but I have a friend who's done tons of hours and has been planning on being a pilot his whole life basically, and was just recently diagnosed with epilepsy at age 20. I can't recall if he's ever actually had an episode seizure. I totally understand why he shouldn't fly anymore, but still unfortunate to lose something you're passionate about. Teacher. Summer's off cool. Week 4 Thanksgiving cool. 2 weeks for Christmas cool. Entitled parents shit. School district and administration wanting you to do 2 different things shit. The kids sigh okay, I love the kids so much, but they absolutely break your heart 100% of the time. There are assholes, sure, those aren't the ones who break your heart. It's those kids you can't help. Whether it's from a shitty home life, bullying, or they just aren't smart. It's those kids who you go above and beyond for, but at the end of the day, you can't be there for them all the time. Working at an amusement park. Deleted. Deleted. But the glamour, the perks, the respect. Teacher. Children are psychic vampires. Deleted. Event planner. It's hell on earth when you have a million things going on and you're waiting for everything to come together. I feel your pain. Not my job 100% of the time, but a big chunk. You only have control over so much. What you don't is incredibly stressful, as well as what you do have control over. Video game developer, non-indie. They're notoriously overworked, especially during crunch time. The field is highly competitive too, so I imagine if you have the slightest issue with work being your entire life, it wouldn't be hard to replace you. Voice acting is also pretty brutal. Voice actors generally don't get paid very well and they're straining their throats or whatever. Not only that, but video game developers are notorious for not getting paid what they deserve, especially relative to other peers in the CS world. I mean, a lot of these guys, especially those who make their own game engines and stuff, are basically creating miniature worlds with realistic physics and graphics all from scratch. Obviously a lot of big AAA titles have huge teams working on them, but some only have around 20 people. When I was a kid I wanted to work in a chocolate factory really bad. I thought that it would be so cool to work in the chocolate factory that I was ready to work there for free. When I turned 16 my dad somehow managed to get me a job for 1 month in a chocolate factory near my house. Apparently I had never seen the inside of this factory. I only got the smell of cocoa when I passed near it. When I went there were no chocolates but just tons and tons of dirty cocoa powder. I'm not kidding. There were cockroaches too, and they apparently just made the raw industrial chocolates in shape of huge cubes and the whole commercial manufacturing was done in another unit. It was so dirty and tedious job, I can't explain. After working there for 2 weeks I left the job and still the smell of chocolate gives me flashbacks and I dread of ever visiting that place. It's adorable you had a dream like that forever though. An artist. Time management is very hard. And it becomes more of a job instead of fun hobby. Time management is hard for most of the artists I know, even if they don't have a lot of work. It can be hard to make art when you just don't feel like it.